Greetings, this is the second video regarding process costing. Here we will apply what we have learned in the first video towards completing 2 textbook problems. These concepts can be found in Chapter 6 on pages 230 to 279 of the textbook, and exercises can be found on pages 260 to 279. If you desire to review the concepts discussed in this chapter, pages 256 to 260 are very useful. The first problem that we will be completing is exercise 6-34 on page 267 of the textbook involving the weighted average method. This reads, Go Forth Company produces a product where all manufacturing inputs are applied uniformly. Go Forth produced the following physical flow schedule for April. Units to account for, which are units in beginning, work in process, 40% complete, 180,000. Units started, 420,000. Total units to account for is 600,000. Units accounted for, 100, which includes the units completed, which is 180,000. From beginning work in process, 324,000 started and completed, 504,000, and units ending work in process, 75 complete, 96,000, which is total units accounted for, which I added in my demonstration of this exercise, which is 600,000. Prepare a schedule of equivalent units using the weighted average method. As you recall from my previous presentation, the weighted average method consists of both the beginning work in process inventory added this period. However, when calculating the ending work in process inventory, you accumulated from the beginning of the period to combine an average or a weighted average applied uniformly throughout from the current period and the ending of this period. Also, very important to remember is that this has to balance like in any accounting problem where the units to account for, total units to account for, is equal to total units to accounted for. Unfortunately, in this problem, they omitted total units accounted for. In my work in solving this problem, I did one page underlining the problem and another with my answer. In this problem, I used, as in any accounting problem, the who, Go Forth Company, the what, process cost report, and the when for the month ended in April 30th, 2016. I used the year 2016 because that's the most closest, and this is just happened. Regarding this problem, I set it up as, first how it was demonstrated, the physical flow schedule where units to account for I bolded and units accounted for. What they omitted was total units accounted for, so I used that in order to clearly demonstrate that total units to account for and total units accounted for balance, which is 600,000 in both respectively. Next, I'm going to go over how I completed the problem using the weighted average method. Using the weighted average method, this is my solution to the problem. Notice the who, the what, and the when, as demonstrated in the exercise format in Excel. Plus, notice how the total is always going to balance as 600,000. Similar to the original problem, note how the beginning work in process inventory units in it is going to still be 180,000, and the add this period is 420,000, which when you add them together, you get the total, which is 600,000. Also, for units accounted for, there is completed and transferred, which in the original problem started completed as 504,000, and the units in ending work in process is 96,000. However, since there's only 75 complete, the ending work in process for direct materials and conversion costs are only 75% of this, 96,000. And when you add the total, which completed transferred, it's always going to be the same amount complete and transferred. Direct materials and conversion costs, you get the bottom line, which is 600,000 total, and 576,000 in both direct materials and conversion costs total. And notably, these should be less than this, or you're going to have a huge problem because direct materials and conversion costs make up the total. Finally, the weighted average is, again, the average at the beginning and ending. Therefore, it's 96,000 in the ending work in process inventory and the completed and transferred. The second and final problem that we will be completing is exercise 6-44, which is on page 270 of the textbook, involving the FIFO, or first in, first out method. This reads, Lawson Company produces a product where all manufacturing inputs are applied uniformly. Lawson produced the following physical flow schedule for March. Units to account for: units in beginning work in process 40% complete, 15,000. Units started, 35,000. Total units to account for, 50,000. Units accounted for, which is units completed, 15,000. From beginning work in process, 27,000. Started and completed, 42,000. Units ending work in process, 75% complete, which is 8,000. Total units accounted for, 50,000. Prepare a schedule of equivalent units using the FIFO method. As you recall from using the weighted average method, you multiply the ending work in process inventory by the percent complete. However, because this is first in, first out, or the FIFO method, the units in the beginning work in process inventory are also accounted for. However, first in, first out, which is the opposite of this, or 60% complete. Finally, when completing the FIFO method, one should be very careful, because only the units of beginning work in process for the units to be accounted for and the units started and the total units to account for are similar, as if conducting the weighted average method in this problem. And yes, the bottom line, always 50,000, is going to have to balance. However, you're going to have also a beginning work in process inventory, completed, transferred, and ending work in process inventory for units accounted for, which adds the extra line beginning work in process inventory. However, with the same rule, this is still going to balance. I broke this problem up into how this whole thing is conducted in Excel and also completing the exact problem. Here, once again, we have the who, the what, and the when. And again, like the last problem, month ended in March 31st, 2016, which I'm using the year that's closest, to predict the future. Also, notice how I still remain highlighting the units to account for, total units to account for, and total units accounted for must balance. Now I am going to show you how to complete the problem using the FIFO method from this whole physical flow schedule. Once again, you have the who, the what, and the when. And yes, if this was like the weighted average or the weighted average method, you have units to be accounted for, which is beginning work in process inventory from the problem, added this period, and the total, 15,000. The beginning work in process inventory, as noted, is still going to be the same, 15,000 and 15,000. However, they say it's 40% complete, so in FIFO, first in, first out, you do 60%, which I multiply 15,000 times 0.6, or 60%, to get direct materials and conversion costs. Also, the ending work in process inventory from this problem was still going to be 8,000. Therefore, I had to add the beginning work in process inventory and the ending work in process inventory and subtract it from the total to get completed and transferred. Or you could also subtract 8,000 from 35,000 to get the remainder of 27,000, because you already used the 15,000 right here. Completed and transferred similarly remains the same, which is the full amount. However, ending work in process inventory is still going to be multiplied by the 75% complete, as it would have been in the weighted average method. And the answer is the total is still going to balance right here, 50,000, same amount of units. And also 42,000, the total direct materials and conversion costs, balances, plus it's going to be less than the total, which is a good check. This concludes our second and final Chapter 6 video, and the next video will be on Chapter 9, Profit Planning. Resources can be used at ACE and both the Bedford and Lowell Math Centers, as well as e-tutoring. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned.